I never thought I'd end up here alone, forgotten, and filled with regret. But this is my story, and maybe someone can learn from my mistakes. I am 55 now, sitting in a small, cold room in an old age home, surrounded by strangers. My children won't talk to me. My family disowned me. And the man I risked everything for? He's gone too. How it all started. I had what most people would call a perfect life. I was married to my husband for over 30 years. He was a kind man, a hardworking provider, and a loving father to our 2 children. But I wasn't satisfied. I wanted more excitement, more passion, something different. That's when I met him, a 40-year-old man who made me feel young again. Let's call him Alex. Alex was charming, adventurous, and full of life. He wasn't rich like my husband, but he knew how to make me laugh, how to make me feel desired. I convinced myself that I deserved happiness, that I had sacrificed too much for my family, and it was time for me to think about myself. The affair. At first, it was just innocent conversations, stolen glances, and casual coffee dates. But soon, it turned into something much more. We started meeting in secret, spending nights together whenever I could come up with an excuse. My husband never suspected a thing. He was always busy with work and trusted me completely. I remember one evening when my husband came home early from a business trip. I had barely returned from meeting Alex, my hair a mess, my perfume still lingering in the air. My husband hugged me and said, "I missed you." I felt a pang of guilt, but I pushed it away. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just chasing happiness. The lies unravel. As time passed, I became careless. My phone was always buzzing with messages from Alex, and I started sneaking out more often. One day, my daughter caught me texting him. She was 18 at the time, old enough to understand what was happening. "Who's that?" she asked, her eyes filled with suspicion. I panicked and lied, but she wasn't convinced. Days later, my husband found messages on my phone. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just looked at me with this broken expression and said, "Why?" I had no answer. I had everything, a loving husband, wonderful children, and a stable life. But I threw it all away for a temporary thrill. The consequences. The fallout was brutal. My husband filed for divorce. My children refused to speak to me. My family, my own parents and siblings, disowned me. In their eyes, I had shamed them. And Alex, the man I sacrificed everything for? As soon as things became difficult, he disappeared. He wasn't interested in a woman going through a messy divorce. He wanted fun, not responsibility. I begged him to stay, but he laughed and said, "You knew what this was." I was left with nothing. My husband got custody of our children. The home we built together was gone. I had no savings of my own because I had always depended on my husband. I had to move into a tiny apartment and take a low-paying job just to survive. The kids' reaction. My daughter was the first to leave. She refused to even look at me after the truth came out. "You ruined our family," she said before packing her bags and moving in with my husband. My son, though younger, wasn't far behind. He started avoiding me, barely speaking even when he had to. I could see the disappointment in his eyes, and it cut deeper than anything else. The final blow came when my son turned 18. He moved out, choosing to stay with his father instead of me. "You chose a stranger over us," he said before walking out the door. And just like that, my children were gone. Years later. For years, I tried to reach out to my children. I sent messages, left voicemails, but they never responded. My son got married, and I wasn't invited. My daughter had a baby, and I only found out through an old friend. I became isolated. My health started declining, and without family support, I had no one to take care of me. I ended up here, in an old age home, surrounded by people who share similar regrets. Every night, I sit alone, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I could have been so foolish. If I had just appreciated what I had, if I had just thought about the consequences, maybe I wouldn't be here. The final realization. One day, an old woman at the home looked at me and asked, "Do your kids visit?" I shook my head, ashamed. "No. I lost them a long time ago." She nodded, as if she understood. We all did something, didn't we? And now we're here, waiting for people who will never come.
Her words haunted me.
She was right. I had spent my whole life chasing happiness, only to end up in a place where no one cared about me anymore. If you're listening this and thinking about cheating, please think again. The thrill is temporary, but the pain lasts forever. I lost everything for a fantasy. And now, all I have left are my regrets.